Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today.
Children, let's start with a new lesson in Standard 8th and the subject is scholarship. Okay, and we'll be doing a lesson in scholarship English today. Now, what is the name of the lesson? It is the next lesson in your syllabus and the lesson is lesson number 4.3, Degrees of Comparison. Now, what do you understand by degrees of comparison? In what context is degrees of comparison used, and what are the rules for the different degrees of comparison? How can you change the degree of comparison, and what are the degrees of comparison? All these things we're going to discuss in this particular lesson today. Okay, so let us first start by understanding what the meaning of degrees of comparison is. So we'll start with the meaning first and we will see that degrees of comparison in grammar, it relates to adjectives and adverbs. Now let us discuss a few lines or few things about adjectives and adverbs. So what is an adjective? An adjective is a word which tells us more about the noun, whereas an adverb is a word which tells us more about the verb. Okay, so now degrees of comparison, they relate to, that is, they are used in connection to adjectives and adverbs. Now, if you talk about degrees of comparison, we can also say that it is used to describe. Describe means to explain or to modify. What is the meaning of modify? Modify means to bring about a slight change. Or quantify. Quantify means what? To say how much, okay, or to say to what extent of what? Adverbs and adjectives. So it is used to describe adverbs and adjectives, it is used to modify adjectives and adverbs, or to quantify adjectives and adverbs. And there are three varying degrees of comparison. So there are three types of degrees of comparison, if you can say it that way. One more thing is, we use degrees of comparison when we want to compare one person or one thing with another. So whenever there is comparison, see for example, when there are two students and we want to say that one of them is a little bit better in studies as far as the other one is concerned. So we want to compare. There are many times when we need to compare things. When you go shopping, when you go to buy things in the market, at that time also you have to compare, isn't it? You have to pick up one object and you pick up another object and you compare the qualities of these objects with each other. So that is the place where these words related to degrees of comparison are used. So in short, we can say that what is the meaning of degrees of comparison? It is nothing but verbs, words which are adverbs or adjectives and which are used for comparing one thing or one person to another. Alright, so this is as far as the degree of comparison meaning is concerned. Let us now move on and see which are the actual three degrees of comparison in English language. So we have the three degrees of comparison, the positive degree, the comparative degree and the superlative degree. Positive, comparative and superlative. Now, what is positive, what is comparative, what is superlative? We will learn very soon with a number of examples. So let's start with the positive degree first. When we speak about only one person or thing, we use the positive degree. So in fact, we can say that when there is no comparison, when you are not comparing any person with any other person or a thing with some other thing, then we are using the positive degree. There is only one person or one thing. So there is obviously no comparison. At such a stage, we make use of the positive degree. This offers no comparison. Okay, like I just told you, we are not in any mood to compare. It just tells us about the existence of a quality. So when we say this boy is good, we are saying that there is this quality of goodness in him. We are describing him and saying that he is good. We are not comparing him, mind you, with anyone else. We are not saying whether he is better or whether he is worse than someone else. Okay, so when there is no comparison, we say that it is a sentence in the positive degree. Let us take a look at examples. When you talk about adjectives, when you say slow, when you say beautiful, when you say happy, then this is all in the positive degree. When talking about adverbs, when you say slowly, when you say beautifully, when you say happily, then what are we doing? We are making use of the positive degree as far as adjectives and adverbs are concerned. So now slow, I'm saying the tortoise is a slow animal. Am I comparing the tortoise with any other animal? No, I'm just saying that the tortoise is a slow animal. She is beautiful. So for me, she is beautiful. I'm not comparing her with anyone else. Okay, so and the adjectives, the snail moves slowly. So I'm talking only about the snail here. There is just one noun here, the snail. I'm not comparing the snail with some other animal. Okay, so this is how the positive degree of, you can say, comparison can be understood. Coming to the examples now. Let's take a look at some example sentences. So we have, this house is big. In this sentence, since it is in the positive degree, only one noun is used. And what is that noun? The house. So we are talking only about one noun here. That is why it is in the positive degree. If you talk about some more examples here, he is a tall student. So there is just one noun here, a student, just one student. And we are saying that he's got a particular quality, that he is tall. Look at the next sentence. This flower is beautiful. So there are many beautiful flowers in the world, but we are not comparing it. Okay, we are just talking about the quality of this particular flower. We are saying this flower is beautiful. Next one, he is an intelligent boy. How is he? He is intelligent. That boy is intelligent. Okay, each sentence mentioned above talks about only one noun. That is why all these sentences are examples of the positive degree of comparison. Positive. When actual there is no comparison at all. Okay, that is a positive degree of comparison. We are just highlighting the quality of a particular person or a particular thing. Okay, so this was about the positive degree of comparison. Let's move on and let's look at the next one. That is the comparative degree of comparison, where this compares two things to show which has the lesser or greater degree of the quality. Here we are going to compare two things and we are going to say this is less and this is more or great. Alright, so you pick up, like the example I give you, pick up two students and we make them stand with each other. Student A is Amit, student B is Babu. We say Amit is taller than Babu. That here the height of Amit is more than the height of Babu. We are comparing Amit and Babu here. Okay, so at that time we make use of which degree? We make use of the comparative degree. Let us see one example here, then we will go and see some more examples. For example, see slower, more beautiful, happier. As far as adjectives are concerned, we'll say slower. Remember I told you the tortoise is an animal which is slow, was the positive degree. Okay, now I will say that the snail is slower than the tortoise. So now here in this case the tortoise has become a little fast compared to the snail because we are comparing the tortoise with the snail. And then we have more beautiful, happier in the same context. Okay, so these are the ways in which adjectives and adverbs will appear when they are in the comparative degree. Coming to some examples of comparative degree, but before that, when we compare two persons or two things with each other, then we say that it is the comparative degree. Two persons or two things. When it is more than two, then we will come to it later. Alright, some examples of comparative degree here. Now, we use both the positive degree and the comparative degree to compare. Remember, we use the positive degree to highlight qualities, but when we use the positive degree in a particular way, then it becomes for comparison. It is useful for comparison. So for comparison, we make use of the positive degree as well as the comparative degree. See the examples. This house is bigger than that one. Now here bigger is the comparative degree. Big and then bigger. But if I say this house is not as big as that one, then see I have used the word big only. See, I have not used the word bigger. But at the same time, I am comparing also. Alright, so sometimes the adjective or the adverb can even be used in its positive degree form to compare. The term bigger is a comparative term version of the term big. But both these sentences convey the same meaning and they're used for the same purpose. That is, they're used for comparison. Alright, so this is the comparative degree. Now, when I discussed with you, I told you just a little bit earlier that what will you do then if there are more than two things? Then what will you do? Okay, let's see now then what we'll do. We will use the superlative degree. Superlative. Alright, let's see. This compares more than two things to show which has the least or the greatest of degrees. So, which is the worst or which is the best when you want to show? When there are many things or many people together and you want to bring out the best amongst them, or you want to bring out the worst amongst them, or you want to bring out the shortest or the tallest or the biggest, that is, if you want to highlight an extreme quality, then there in that case we make use of the superlative degree of comparison. Okay, for example, adjectives which can be used are slowest, most beautiful, happiest. So see, slowest means there is nothing which is slower than this. Most beautiful means there is no one else who's as beautiful as that person, or there is no other thing which is as beautiful as that particular thing. Happiest means the state of mind where there is no one else who's as happy as we are. Okay, so all these are examples of superlative degree. Let us take a look at some examples. I can't find my most comfortable jeans. So see, now we will talk about certain, you can say, words which are in the regular form and which are in the irregular form too. So here I will not say, I can't find my comfortablest jeans. That is wrong. You will say, most comfortable jeans. Alright, so most comfortable here is the superlative form. Then you say, the runt of the litter is the smallest. Smallest. There is nothing which is smaller than this. Okay? Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. So out of all the planets that we have, which is the biggest one in size, it is Jupiter. Then you have, she is the smartest girl in our class. That is, she gets the most number of marks, she takes part in most number of activities, and she is the smartest girl. There is no other girl who can match up to her level. So smartest is the superlative degree of comparison. Coming to the next example, this is the most interesting book I have read. So you can see, in some places we add est, in some places we add most, and for comparative we add more. Alright, so this is the most interesting book. I mean, I have never ever read a book like this, and I did not find any other book which is as interesting as this book. So this is the most interesting book. Alright, and finally, I am the shortest person in my family. So everyone else is taller than me. I am the shortest. So these are all examples, children, of the superlative degree or the superlative form. Okay, so these were the three, you can say, degrees of comparison: the positive, the comparative, and the superlative. Now let us look at certain rules for degrees of comparison. There are a lot of rules now, but I have picked up around 7 or 8 which will be useful for us for our studies this year. So let us start with rule number 1, which says, if a single quality is compared between two persons, more or most are not used. Okay? So if you're comparing just one single quality between two people, then you do not make use of more or most. See here, she is wiser than her brother, we say. We will never say she is more wiser than her brother. More, there is no need to add more to wiser, because we are comparing the two of them and we are saying she is wiser. So wiser is enough. There is no need for you to say more wiser. Alright, coming to rule number 2. When two qualities of a single person or a single thing is compared, more is used with the first adjective, even if it is a single syllable word. Now we will leave this syllable thing aside and we will try and focus on the other part of this rule. When two qualities, see, in the previous rule we compared one quality of two persons. Here we are going to compare two qualities of a single person. So what are we going to do then? We will use more. For example, see, we will say he is more shrewd than wise, or he is more wise than shrewd. So there is no doubt that he is shrewd, but at the same time he is wise, and this quality of wiseness exceeds the quality of shrewdness. So he is more wise than shrewd. If you say he is wiser than shrewd, then it is wrong. So certain places you make use of more wise and certain places you make use of wiser. Where do you say only wiser? We say only wiser if you're comparing a single quality. And when you say more wise, we are comparing two qualities of a single person. Okay, so this was rule number 1 and rule number 2. Let's move on and let's see the next rule. Remember that now double comparatives. See, language is a thing which is evolving daily. There is some kind of change or the other which keeps on happening as far as language learning is concerned. Okay, so now at one particular point of time, maybe we could make use of double comparatives or double superlatives, but nowadays that is not preferred. Okay, so they are not used. So these shoes are more preferable than those. So there is no need to say more when you're saying preferable. So that will be marked as not very correct. So what will be considered correct? These shoes are preferable to those. So there is no need to say more. Okay, there is no need to use two words for comparing or two words for expressing the superlative degree. So this is rule number 3 for you. Coming to rule number 4. The adjectives which give absolute sense do not take more or most with them. Absolute sense. There are certain adjectives which are absolute. That is, you need not say anything, you need not add any word to it. For example, when we say more parallel, what is the meaning of more parallel? Parallel itself means two lines which never meet. So there is no need to say more parallel. Parallel cannot have a degree of less parallel or more parallel. Okay? Or when you say square, when you say unique, unique in itself means something out of the ordinary. So there is no need for you to say more unique at all. This idea is more universal than that is wrong. There is no need to say more universal. When you say this idea is universal, itself means that it is applicable to everyone and the other is not. Okay, so the right way of saying it is this idea is universal and the other is not. This idea can be applied to everyone, everywhere, in any circumstance, whereas that idea is not, will not be able to be applied to everyone in every circumstance, in every situation. Alright, so this is rule number 4 for you. Coming to rule number 5. The following adjectives are followed by to and not by than. So, if you write than after certain adjectives, then your sentence might be wrong. See, when you say junior, you say junior to. When you say senior, you say senior to. Inferior to. Preferable to. Superior to. Elder to. But many of us, we say junior than, senior than, inferior than, which after this lesson you will not say. Okay, because now you all know that we use the word to followed by these adjectives. Okay, or these adjectives are followed by the word to and not by the word than. This piece of cloth is superior than that is wrong. This piece of cloth is superior to that is correct. My sister is elder than me. See, this is a common mistake that most of us make. My sister is elder than me, which is wrong. So what is the right one? My sister is elder to me. Okay, so this was the next rule. Coming to rule number 6. Similar things should be compared when you compare two things. Okay, you cannot compare two things which are not at all similar. For example, I cannot compare an animal with a flower. Okay, I cannot compare a non-living thing with a living thing. So similar things should be compared always, and comparison should not be made between things which have nothing in common. For example, see here, the speed of this car is greater than the old one. So now what are you doing? You're comparing the speed of the car with the old car. You're not comparing it with the speed of the old car. Okay, your sentence formation is wrong. So when you want to compare two similar things, see how the sentence will be framed. The speed of this car is greater than that of the old one. So see, you're saying this car, since it is new, the speed is more than that of the older one. So the older one, the speed was less. Here, the speed is more. We cannot compare speed of the car with the car. Okay, you have to compare speed of the car with the speed of another car. You cannot compare one car with the speed of the other car. I took this a little complicated concept because you should understand well. Otherwise, I could have simply compared an animal to a flower. You would have understood that also, but I need you to understand this in detail. Okay, so this was rule number 6. Now we will move on and we will go to the next rule, that is rule number 7. When two adjectives in different degrees of comparison are used in the same sentence, then both should be complete in itself. Okay, when you're using two different degrees of comparison, then both the degrees of comparison should be complete. The phrases should be complete. They should not be incomplete. For example, if I say, he is as bad, if not better, than his brother, it is wrong. I should say, he is as bad as, if not better, than his brother. So this will be the correct way you write the adjectives when you're comparing two adjectives with each other. Coming to rule number 8, which is going to be the last rule that we are going to discuss today. Why? Because I told you there are a lot of rules. If you look up, there are so many rules that you will be able to locate. But we are going to take use of or make use of only those rules which we are relevant to our studies. Okay? So comparative degree should be used while comparing two, and superlative degree when we compare more than two. This is very simple. This we discussed it right at the beginning. When you're comparing two things, you make use of the comparative degree. When you're comparing more than two things, then you make use of the superlative degree. So see, among the three, who is more hardworking is wrong. There are three people now. So what will you say? Amongst the three, who is the most hardworking? So instead of more, you will say most here. Alright, so these are the 8 rules as far as degrees of comparison is concerned. Now, let us go to one small point before we go to the exercises, but I am not sure we'll be doing the exercises today. Why? Because a lot of time has been taken up to understand the concept of degrees of comparison. Okay? Now let us look at the regular adjectives. I told you when we take ER in the comparative form and when we take EST in the superlative form, it becomes a regular adjective or an adverb for that matter. We're looking only at adjectives here. So see, when big becomes bigger, big becomes bigger, and it becomes biggest in the superlative, then it is a regular adjective. Tall becomes a taller and tallest in the superlative form. Clean becomes cleaner and cleanest in the superlative form. And always remember to read the others also. I will not read all the words for you because the video will go too long. So look at the other words and read it yourself. Cold, colder, coldest, etc. Alright, you can pause the video here and read. Coming to the irregular adjectives. Irregular means what? It does not take ER and EST. For example, positive degree, bad. Comparative degree, should have been badder and baddest, but it is not. It is worse, worst. Positive degree, badly. Now this is what? It's an adverb. Okay? Worse, worst. Far, as far as distance is concerned. Farther, farthest. This far, further, furthest. Good, better, best. So see, nowhere we are adding the er or est. That is why these are all irregular adjectives. Okay? Remember, when you are using these adjectives, whether it is regular, whether it is irregular, when we are making use of them in a sentence, then you always use than in the comparative degree and we use the in the superlative degree. For example, we say worse than, later than, less than, more than, better than. And if it is the superlative degree, we say the worst, the best, the least, the most, etc. Okay, so children, today we took a lot of time trying to understand the meaning of degrees of comparison. So what we'll do is, the next part that we do, that is, we look at the question patterns, isn't it? This we will do it in the next video. So what are you supposed to do? Watch the entire video, and towards the end I have put up some tasks for you to do. Do that also.
So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.